Hey guys, welcome back to Fair Iron and Customs. We got another video on doing the suspension work on a Ford. Today we're going to be working on the rear suspension and possibly the track bar. I don't know if we're going to get that far or not. Possibly, because what I've got to do to mount the rear bags is not going to be terribly complicated. So anyway, alright, so what I have done, I came in here Thursday night and worked a little bit last night, just kind of getting some ideas about where things need to go. The bags are, I'm not going to be able to put them on top of the control arms like I wanted, because we'd have to radically reshape the frame, and I just don't think that that's really possible, because it would change the inside of the car if we had to reshape the frame where it needs to be reshaped. So what I have is I found the height that the rear end is going to go if it lays on the frame with no air and suspension, where the tires are going to be on the ground and the frame is going to be on the ground. And then I moved it down 5 inches, which is where I want my ride height to be, and I set the pinion angle to 0. And the reason why I set the pinion angle to 0 is because if we set it to up 3 degrees and we set the transmission down 3 degrees, the drive shaft is going to be at a really bad, the universal joints will be at a really bad angle. So I'm going to go ahead and set this to 0 at ride height, and we'll have to, wherever the universal joints zero out, you want your front joint and your rear joint angle to be the same angle where you're driving down the road. And since we're not talking about a parallel 4-link and we're talking about this suspension, we're gonna have to, we can't set it to where it will be where the pinion angle, where the drive shaft angles will stay where they're supposed to be throughout the travel. It will only be where it's supposed to be at ride height. So that's something you had to take in consideration using the truck arms. If I had to do it again, I would probably go with a parallel 4-link, but I had the truck arms and this is the way I wanted to build it. Alright guys, I got the kind of figured out where I want these mounted. I'm going to mount them level with it sitting laid out, because I want the and I'm gonna have to move it again. It's got to come out just a little bit. I'm mounting the brackets at 7 3/4 and leveling them out so that when it's laid out and the bags compressed together, they won't be compressed together at an angle. And what I'm going to probably end up having to do, and I'm not sure, I've just been looking at some bags. I'm going to set it up to run 2600 bags. I would like to run 25s in the back, because the back of the car is really not that heavy. But I'm thinking the bags I already have, the 2600 Air Max B2s, they're Air Max, I don't know if y'all can see that, Air Max 2B 2600s, collapse at 2.75 and extend to 10 inches. So that is 7 1/4 inches of lift. A 2500 bag, I think all you get out of a stage 2 bag on 2500 is 8 inches. I may be wrong. Air Max makes a Titan that is 3.5 inches collapsed and runs to 11.5 inches, so that will give me 8 inches, which is 2 inches, 1 inch more than this, and I can get a Dominator 2 that'll give me almost 10 inches. So on a 2600. So that's the reason why I'm setting the back up with 2600. If I could set it up with 25, I'd move them in further, but since this car doesn't have a mechanical advantage to set the suspension on it, I need to have as much lift as possible just in case I'm going over something. I plan on driving this down to Ocracoke, getting on the ferry and off, and want to make sure that that I have enough suspension to get in those places without dragging. So I'll be back in a minute. Let me get this reset up and I'll weld this on. Next thing I'm going to do is make a mock bag. This is a piece of 2x3 box tubing. The bag fully deflated is 2.75, so this will give us a 1/4 inch of play if the actual suspension goes that high up. So I've marked it. I measured the bags. You can find this information also on the site. Alright, what I was saying is if you need to measure the spacing on a bolt hole, it's I'm just going to turn on my calipers and make sure they're zeroed out. And you want to measure from the far side of one hole, the near side of one hole to the far side of the other hole, and that will give you what the bolt spacing is supposed to be. This, I know these bags are 2 inches and that bolt spacing is 2 inches and 3/4, which is 2 inches and 75 thousandths. So but that's how you would check to see. And I'm just trying to line up the threads where the threads start on each side, and each side is 275 and the bottom is the very same. So what I did was took this piece of 2x3 and I took the end that was cut by the factory or by the supplier, which was square, and I measured an inch, like just a 5 1/4 inch piece of steel, 2x3. I measured an inch, made a mark, and then went 3.75, which will give us 2.75. Made a mark, did that on both sides. And what I will do with a set of calipers, and because this has got a round edge, it's hard to mark it with your set of calipers. Set it to an inch, lock it down, and then come to the edge of the round and run you a line, and then go to the other side to the edge of the round and run you a line, and then you'll see there's 2 lines, and you just find the center of that. Focus, can y'all see that? But anyway, and that's just how I find the center. If it was a square edge like the edge of this, you could just go to the edge of the edge and mark your 1 inch. So I'm going to drill this out and tap these holes to 3/8 by 16, 3/8 16, because that's what the holes in the bags are. Matter of fact, let me make sure that's the right tap. I can't read the tap, I'm just taking a guess at it. So, but that's what size bolt holes are in the bag. I'm using I think it's 11/32. It's halfway between a 5/16 and it's halfway between a 5/16 and 3/8. So we get those drilled out, and then we're going to move on to setting up the top bag brackets. Alright guys, what y'all just saw me cut out was the going to be upper bag plate that's going to mount off of the chassis. Now this is going to be triangulated back up to the bars in the back on both sides. I didn't want to run it all the way up and then come back, because what I'm going to need to do, I may have to come up and go back, but the shocks are going to come up right behind the bag in this area somewhere, and I need to get the shock mounts bolted to the bottom of the chassis to figure that out. And these are things you got to think about when you're modifying stuff, is how are you going to put the shocks back on. I wanted to use a sway bar, but as you could probably saw in the earlier shots, I cut the sway bar brackets off last night because they were in the way of the airbag brackets. I originally intended for the airbag brackets to be on the control arms, and we all know how that turned out. Oh, something else I mentioned about the, forgot to mention about the mock-up bags that I was making that were, so you can set the height. Those are available on mine as a kit. I think you can weld up. I'm not sure where they are. I haven't seen them, but I will leave a link in the description for Garage Fab if you're interested in any kind of airbag stuff at all. Man Candy does a really great video series on bagging stuff and how to set up airbag suspension. So I'll leave that link, and we're gonna get on to the next part of this. Alright guys, all I did was measured from the center of the hole in the lineup jig to the chassis and found it was 3 inches and a quarter. So I marked my first mark at 3 inches a quarter, and then went to 2.75 beyond, or 2 3/4 beyond that. Found the center, and that's where I'm going to drill my holes for my bag mounts. I thought about slotting the holes. The bottom holes are slotted. The only thing that I'm going to run into, if you are going to go between 2,500 and 2,600 bags, they have a different pattern on the holes, so that's the reason why your bag mounts will come with slotted holes. So I'm not really going to worry about that. What I am going to worry about right now is I'm going to get those holes drilled to where this will bolt in. I'm going to have to take and cut a little bit out of this, the width of this 125 thousandths, not this, this material, which is 11 gauge. We're going to have to cut that out so that it will flush in. It's going to sit where the gusset is on the side of the chassis. So we've got to do that, and we've also got to come in when we get these holes made and create a hole here for the airbag fitting. So once I determine where, get these holes drilled, I'll find halfway between them and determine what size hole this needs to be, and probably just use my step bit and work it out. It's gonna have to be bigger than this because you need to have enough room for the fitting to screw down in this hole. And plus on top of that, what may end up happening when I get the car set up and everything set like I want to, I may end up having to space the top of the bag. Alright guys, I made some more room on my camera, alright, we're going to get this drilled out, and then I'm going to come back and make this. And I think I was saying that I'm probably going to end up wanting to have the option to space the top of the bag down, maybe create a ½ inch or an inch. And when we get to the point in where I know exactly how the suspension is going to react to the weight of the car, we'll make those changes then, because I have a very specific idea about how I want this to work, and I want as much up travel in the suspension as I can possibly get. And that's the reason why none of the connections in the back are permanent. I'm probably going to have to go back and make some changes on angles and stuff, but we'll get to that when we get to that. So right now, let's just get these brackets made, and I'll be right back, and we'll drill this out, and we'll come back and make that hole. Alright guys, I could have gone with a 1/4 inch smaller circle than that, I feel. but I ain't mad at it. There'll be enough room to make sure that you can get in there to the adapter. There's going to be plenty of strength in this piece of metal. I'm going to have a piece coming up this way. Oh wait, I'm going to have a piece coming up this way and a piece coming up this way, and that way to attach to the chassis. And you know, it'll be fine. It'll be just fine. Alright guys, what y'all saw me make was the plate that's going to go back here. It's going to connect the bracket, and I'm going to have to retrim it some more because I didn't take enough out of it. So I'm going to have to get out of the car and do that. And I made this one off camera, just out of a piece of flat bar that I had. Let me go trim this and I'll be back in just a second. I'll weld those in. Alright guys, that I ran out of film somewhere wherever I was welding that, so I got this side welded up. Think I'm gonna put a gusset in this area down here, probably just overkill. I'm gonna put a triangulated bar from here down to the, I'm gonna triangulate that area. I'll probably work on that on the next video whenever I'm doing the panhard bar, the track bar, whatever you want to call it. I've got this side welded in as well. Went ahead and got that knocked out. So not going to put the bags in this video because I still got more welding to do down here, and I want to clean all this up, get that panhard bar in, and then I'll put the bags in. And y'all actually will see the bags in operation after I get the front bags finished up and get the car on the ground. And that's probably that'll be the next video after the panhard bar. So I'm gonna stop the video here today, and I think that was all that I had. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, y'all have a good day, have a good week, and leave a like, subscribe, comment, share on social media. You know, all those fun things they always tell you to do on YouTube. And most importantly, you know, you go out to your shop and have a good time and build something today. Later.